Hi friends, so this is the in stitches physically part of Betsy in Stitches, and in retrospect, hindsight being 2020 and all that, I should have recognized that the trouble that I was having with that Woobles kit was an unusually bad brain day. Hi everybody, welcome back to a crochet sit and chat with Betsy in Stitches. It has been a really rough weekend, and I was kind of vlogging what happened after my part one of the Woobles, and I apologize if I am slow and not expressing myself very well. And then I realized that I had not really truly given like a full rundown of the chronic illness side of Betsy in Stitches. I think that's in part and partial because the craft side is the side that lifts me up, the part that I enjoy sharing with you all and talking with you all. But I kind of also lost sight of some of the advocacy things that I used to do to share that part of my life, the chronic illness part. And so I thought we would just sit down and have a little chat, hopefully crochet together. I'm going to be working on some granny squares so I don't have to think about them, from the Red Heart Super Saver granny square yarn. You can see I completed a kind of a lap blanket prayer shawl out of that colorway. And so yeah, grab some yarn, grab a drink. I've got mine. Got a bag of fluids running, but I've also got some electrolyte drink and stuff. And let's get real for a little bit. I had been doing, in my opinion, really well at maintaining a baseline of functioning to help with my daughter a lot this week, with some sort of extra things that were going on with my husband's church where he pastors. And I probably should have just admitted to myself that, like, I had a lot of adulting to do and not try to do a new crochet project. I know that amigurumi takes a lot of counting, takes a lot of brain power some days, and then add to that setting up to film in. And I had a really lovely conversation with a former coworker, and like all of that was all really good, but trying to keep my daughter the next day, I sort of, combined with this nasty rash I've had on my chest, I haven't been able to access and get fluids. I think I went a full week. Obviously I crashed really bad. I thought that I might crochet some, which is probably just a Hail Mary. So I grabbed some of the Red Heart Super Saver granny square, but as you can see, it's the afternoon and I really want to get a shower today, and I need to access my port and get fluids, and I gave myself 3 bags in the last 24 hours to catch up. We're going to try to do 1 bag tonight and another tomorrow morning. So let's just all say, hey, Betsy, stop making stupid choices within your energy envelope. I don't talk to myself that way. Yeah, I do. Okay, let's be honest. Let's give ourselves some grace and know that Betsy is in like pieces today. And I can stitch myself back up and stitch some stuff together another day. All right. So, this video started as a response to I was vlogging what a terrible weekend I had, sort of explaining why I was having such a difficult time with the Woobles kit as an advanced crocheter. And then I realized that when I got well and I sort of shut down Me, My Hook and Die, which is the former name of my channel that's now Betsy and Stitches, that was for ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is one of my diagnoses. We'll go through that later. I realized I had cleansed a lot of my chronic illness content from my channel out of fear of what my coworkers would think and just presenting that kind of profoundly disabled version of myself. I'm realizing whatever. I got pillows all over here. For good reason, although that company turned out to be like the most reasonable, understanding, empathetic company I probably could have ever worked for. But you don't know that when you're finally getting hired for a job after being profoundly disabled for 5 years. And, you know, so I realized, like, if there are videos explaining about my illnesses on here, first off, I think you'll have to dig for them. And second off, like, they're not exactly current. And so let's explain what's going on. And I apologize for, I have moved my IV pump as far away as I can and still be tethered. I infuse for 4 hours a day, and I'm also trying to film this while nobody is home to interrupt me, mainly my very charismatic and energetic 11-year-old daughter. So while I would love to not have that going in the background, I'm sorry for those of you who are noise sensitive. I don't know what else I would film. So originally I came on here because it was pre-COVID, and I will say that the awareness surrounding my illnesses, which are myalgic encephalomyelitis, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and just dysautonomia in general, the information that was out there, the patients that were out there, it was such a small section of the patient population, so incredibly misunderstood, that I felt I was doing like a huge advocacy effort trying to explain what post-viral illness looked like. When I was hospitalized in December with what was essentially a hard onset back into some very significant disabling symptoms, the amount of understanding and care and compassion that I was met with by the nurses and staff at UT Hospital, I felt like I was in the twilight zone. I could not believe that I didn't have to explain myself. I didn't have to defend myself. They were very thorough in investigating possible other diagnoses, like some other neuroimmune things like MS and lupus, because a lot of my symptoms cross over with that. And in the end decided that it was just an unfortunate flare of POTS and dysautonomia and ME/CFS all together. So my channel started out on a topic that like not very many people knew about. You would probably be most familiar with long COVID, which is pretty much what I have, except for I happen to have had it triggered before I got COVID. I got COVID and then it triggered again. If you followed me before, you'll know that part of my remission, we kind of blamed on the mRNA technology in the COVID vaccine, maybe triggering some proteins in my body to not react the same way. And I was able to rehab myself over the course of about 2 years until I was able to go back to work. I have since had a COVID booster. And here I am, still sort of profoundly disabled, infusing almost every day a week. So, maybe it was just the grace of God and like some really intentional, very, very slow rehab. We'll see how that unfolds as my channel continues. But I decided to come back on here and do some advocacy because I will look and present very healthy, and very, what's the word? Articulate. Which I am clearly not right now on good days. Like, you would not be able to tell that I struggle so profoundly. And now I'm, even from the way the hospitals treated me in December and some of the research that I have looked up, it appears as though there is a certain section of healthcare professionals who are kind of putting myalgic encephalomyelitis, or ME/CFS, POTS, maybe even fibromyalgia, all under the dysautonomia umbrella. And dysautonomia means dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system. So the things that my body is supposed to do, like breathe, like I suffer from air hunger sometimes, digestion, hydration and blood volume and oxygenation, pumping blood efficiently from my feet to my head, regulating heart rhythms and blood pressure. You can see how this gets ugly real fast. My body doesn't do that efficiently, and when I am in a flare, it does it even less efficiently. So what that looks like on a mediocre day is the mild cognitive impairment that I was sort of making fun of myself in my Woobles part 1 video for not being able to understand it. What it looks like this weekend on a very bad day, when before my port and the ability to infuse myself with 3 or 4 liters of fluid to get my blood volume and oxygenation and all that up, I would have gone to the emergency room / been admitted to the hospital like I was in December. So that isn't just mild cognitive impairment where I can't articulate myself well or think very well or understand things, like when I was trying to do a beginning crochet kit. It can mean that I have full hamster wheel running in my head of things I want to say, but my ability to take it from my brain to my mouth is gone. So I'm really only able to express myself in nods or short one-word answers, or it takes an exceedingly long time for me to say what I mean, which can be very frustrating. Sometimes I lose the ability to communicate from my brain to my limbs, to walk, to get my legs to move, to get my body to do the things that should be automatic for me to do, like the way it's almost automatic to put a crochet hook in. So sometimes I have to use a wheelchair, sometimes I have to use a walker to hold on while my legs slowly do what I want them to do. And then I tend to go eat very liquid things like soup and things that are very easy to digest, because just digesting a meal or eating a meal can become exhausting from what's called post-exertional malaise, which if you've been around here long enough, saw old videos, or can dig old videos up, you know that that is an exhaustion that comes with an activity that should not cause that level of fatigue. And sometimes that can mean digesting my food. Other times that can mean I tried really hard to understand the Woobles, and I am an advanced crocheter, and that should have been easy. And the whole thing just totally wiped me out. Um, so, um, I'm trying to figure out how to put all of this in like a really neat uh, package that explains, you know, what's going on and sort of allows you to see the chronic illness part of my life. But I also just don't have much of a brain right now. So why I'm trying to do this today is a mystery to even me, except that I ran into a book by a friend of mine. Her name is Maggie Boxey, and she wrote a book called The Three Things. And I read the introduction last night, and I'm going to link the book in the description because it's amazing. She too suffers from chronic illness, but also has gone through, well, I don't want to give away the whole book. It's about recovery and letting these three principles uh, of family, being true to yourself, and glorifying God in all things. But she's just a real human person, you know, like she's my kind of person. Like there's flaws and everything in there. And it reminded me that in her courage to tell her story, that maybe pulling everything off my social media about chronic illness is not the thing to do. And maybe I do need to lean more into the chronic illness portion of my channel, because that was also a real that was a real outlet for me, not just to share my experience, but to also advocate and educate. But I've also had a fair number of you come back and say, like, I'm so glad you're back, and I'm so glad that you're talking about things because I have chronic illness too, and I missed you. And that was really what I loved about this, was building the community that we had together, both over crafting and crocheting, but also around chronic illness and loving yourself in and through that, even when you can't do really profoundly easy things, or even if you can't do the thing. Like, I could not crochet all weekend, even this really simple granny square, because I was barely getting myself to the bathroom. Um, and what it looks like to go from looking extremely healthy. I had a very lovely conversation with a former coworker before I filmed the Woobles video, which just like energized me and made me super excited to do all the things again. And how much I hid from her and my company as I was like, shoo, was like not fair for some genuine friendships that I made there, but also like, you know, reminding me that the vulnerability and the honesty with which I shared this journey before was part of what saved me. So, and adds validity to the believability of going from, for so many people who suffer from these outward invisible illnesses, to go from being happy and bubbly and giggly and energetic on to within a matter of 24 hours like not being able to sit up in bed unassisted, people treat us like we're crazy because arguably it looks crazy. Um, I could not really get the words from my brain to my mouth to explain to my husband what I needed. I could not get my brain to communicate to my legs in an efficient manner to walk without a drag of my feet and my legs. So I had to use my walker. Sometimes I have to use a wheelchair to conserve energy, but sometimes I have to use a wheelchair because my brain won't communicate to my legs. Because with dysautonomia, all bets are off. Like all the things that your body is supposed to know how to do naturally, if you're in a flare, who the hell knows? Like, and that looks crazy. That looks mentally insane. Because within the span of 12 hours, I went from taking care of my kid by myself to not being able to sit up in bed or communicate. That's effing crazy. So, I have a feeling that a lot of us end up in the hospital because they were so educated about it. But I got out of the hospital and struggled for 6 months to get any treatment because people still don't know what to do with us unless we're in like an acute crisis, and then it's basically like get these people fluids and food and get their blood pressure regulated and their oxygen regulated and then send them home. So I think there's more advocacy to do. I think it's a much better atmosphere out there. But for me, I think sharing the highs and lows on my channel is part of my journey. And connecting with you all about that is part of my journey, whether you are someone who also suffers from all the multitude of chronic illnesses that are out there, or if you're just someone who sees my really awesome humanity and connects with it. Maybe it'll give you an opportunity to react with kindness and empathy for a fellow friend whose illness can have such profound highs and lows. Then that's one more person that I've educated and hopefully helped see the raw and realness of those of us who are still trying to have meaningful and profound impacts on the world when our world can go from so big to so small in a heartbeat. So thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for laughing with me, because I truly was laughing with and in spite of myself on part 1 of the Woobles. I don't believe I have enough brain power to sit and like filter out the beginning portion, beginner, like true beginner. Like the Woobles was awesome. It was so step by step that I could not follow how simplified it was as an advanced crocheter, and I still find that pretty funny. So thanks for laughing with me and alongside of me and going on this journey with me, because sometimes, some days, you are the only community I am talking to. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or just like want to know more about the chronic illness side or about me, or want to reach out in any way, my email is betsyandstitches@gmail.com, or you can drop it in the comments and I will try to answer. You can follow me on Instagram at betsyandstitches. And don't forget to hit subscribe, like, comment, notify, all the things. It builds community in more ways than you know, and it helps my channel in more ways than you know, and it's absolutely free for you to do. So I will see you guys.
Anyway, if you are also having a rough day and really want to do your crafting, whether that be crochet or sewing or painting or drawing or whatever, let this be a reminder to give yourself some grace, even though I know you want to do it really bad. Maybe just rest for the day. So that's what I'm going to give myself permission to do. So I'll see you maybe in a few days when I feel better.